Uh, Yep, there we go. All right. Since we're starting, I'll just do a quick welcome Tiffany and Johnny, and if other people join us later on, awesome. I will start this up by saying thank you to Jesse for agreeing to do this at which by all intents and purposes is last minute. But this is a great program that the state offers you to be able to allocate some of your tax money to go, instead of going into their coffers, going into something local and beneficial. There are this program that we're going to be hearing about is one of them. There are two others that are available. So you do have a choice in what you can do with your excise tax. Obviously, as the Florida Brewers Guild, we are not tax attorneys or consultants. So it is important that for your own business, you do your own due diligence and make sure that you make the choices that are best for your business. So with that, I will turn you over to Jesse.
Awesome. Thank you, Sean. I really appreciate it. This will be slightly less interactive since there's only a couple folks on the call. But thank you for watching. Thank you to Tiffany and Johnny for being here today. I appreciate your time. So I just wanted to share again, like Sean shared, this is an opportunity to keep your tax money local, but then also to actually support some good work that's happening in your own backyard. So I am with Safe Families for Children. And I am also a mom, married, and I have some nieces and nephews. I trust that y'all have some similar experience. Even if you don't have your own kids, you probably have been around kids or are related and have some nieces and nephews yourself. Now, I want you to imagine, maybe you've had your own experience or could think about something happening where a crisis strikes. Maybe it's a health crisis. Maybe there was job loss in your family. Maybe in this crazy housing crisis and cycle that somebody got priced out of their home, somebody that or even a family member, and maybe even yourself could have been priced out of a home. And you look at your phone and you have no one that you trust to have your best interest in mind and your children's best interest in mind to help you and keep your kids safe while you figure things out. That is the reality of dozens and hundreds of families across the state of Florida. And so the opportunity that we have is that we get to come alongside those families, help them stabilize from a crisis and keep their kids safe, but also keep that family together. Because a lot of, if you can imagine, again, it's an unexpected health crisis. It's, something that really just kind of takes the rug out from underneath you. You're scared. Your brain is in overdrive, right? Trying to problem solve and prioritize and figure out where to focus your energy. And when you think about, where to start and kind of how to bring yourself back down, do you think your first call is going to be to a professional? Or do you think you need a friend? Right? And we need professionals at some point. We need therapists, we need doctors, we need case managers, we need folks who can kind of, connect us with resources and kind of walk us through some different programs or different scenarios. But really at the end of the day, what most of us want is a friend. And so when they don't have anybody to call, that is where Safe Families enters the picture. So our vision is that we want to keep kids safe, but we also want to keep families together, right? Not being separated needlessly because of being under-resourced and just not having access to goods. It's not because it's not the ones who are willfully neglecting their children, not when there's been actual abuse, but the opportunity where they just say, like, I need some help and I don't know where to start. Right. And so we want to be that community for those families. It's a trusted, compassionate community with that family's best interest in mind. And it's not a tit for tat kind of relationship, right? Where what a lot of us have maybe even experienced, maybe growing up, and you see it's like, well, I'll give you the ride if you do that, or, you want to pay me for this, that, the other, and maybe I'll be willing to help you. Right. This is more of a community that says, listen, I want what's best for you and I want what's best for your kids. And that happens in the context of community. So we actually get to host children temporarily in volunteers' homes. The parents don't lose custody, right? This is where they are voluntarily saying, I need help and I agree to be a part of this process. And then our volunteers become like extended family. So practically, then what are the objectives? What does that actually accomplish? Well, a lot of times what this opportunity affords is child abuse prevention, right? When you get into stress mode, when you get into overdrive, that's when I'm more likely to lose my cool. And if lots of things are, your support systems and your structures have kind of fallen apart around you, it's easy to lose your temper. It's easy to take that out on the vulnerable and young child in your life that can't stand up for themselves. So we get the opportunity to actually help prevent unnecessary child abuse. We also then get to deflect children and families from the child welfare system, from ending up in foster care. And if any of you are familiar with that, the system is overloaded. There's way more needs than they can support. And there's a lot of subjective calls being made about who gets removed and who gets to stay and sort of what those situations look like. But at the end of the day, then we're also getting to help not only support that family, but help stabilize that family. We help connect them to the relationships, yes, with the volunteers, but also with the community resources that are going to help make some changes and prevent some of those things from happening again. But it also builds the family resilience so that even when crisis or something crazy and stressful happens, that they know where to turn and they know who to call. And so it builds that family's capacity to respond better in the future. So what is it exactly that we do with Safe Families for Children? Well, we actually get to, we will train and vet and equip volunteers to serve as host families. Those are the ones who keep kids overnight in their homes, like I shared. That's what we call hosting. But it's also equipping them and asking them and inviting them to be a friend, to be that trusted voice, to be someone who can, babysit the kid on the weekend while they're picking up extra shifts, and making more money for their family. It's the one who is going to check on grandma or check on dad and check on mom and say, hey, how are things going this week? And, did you get that new job? And right, just being that source of encouragement, being a source of stability in their lives, when drama happens at the workplace, that they don't just get stuck in that cycle, right? But that they can call their family friend or that they can call a family coach and really, get some practical strategies, some good, solid advice and work through some of the issues that they continue to face. We also get to do this with a number of different families, right? So who do we actually serve? We serve families all across the spectrum. A lot of our families are experiencing or have experienced homelessness. There's a lot of health crisis, loss of a job, maybe, and a lot of it is also social isolation. So most of our families are low income, most are single moms, but we really do serve anyone who asks for help. So it's been single dads, it's been grandparents raising grandchildren. We've served wealthy, familiar with Florida. I'm on the East Coast, I'm over in Vero Beach. And so we have the barrier island, right? And so the island is considered, where the money is. And we've served families who've lived on the island here in the Treasure Coast, stable 2-parent family homes, but they were very socially isolated. And a health crisis came and mental health crises creeped up and they didn't have a community. They didn't have family that they felt like they could call. And so they called Safe Families and we were happy to offer them support as well. So it could, like I said, could be anybody. It could be an adoptive parent. It's been families who, once they've been reunified, maybe the kids were removed and now they're back with mom or dad and they want some extra help, right, to stay stable and be able to keep their kids. So we get to serve all across that spectrum. Anyone, if they're willing to work with us and, kind of keep in touch and sort of move through the process with us, then we're happy to stay alongside them. So we do that through what we call a circle of support. So this is really, like I shared, those relationships, that social support network. We do that. You'll see the Safe Families Church up there. That's, churches are an established community. They sort of operate, from that love of neighbor philosophy and values and beliefs. And so we typically start there, but our volunteers can be anybody, who's willing to be a compassionate volunteer and a compassionate voice in the lives of their neighbors. So we've been doing this for about 20 years, using these different models. Like I share these different roles, the host family for overnight, family friending, either focusing on the parent or maybe a little bit more hands-on with the child. Our family coaches, who are the ones who are really connecting them to community resources and helping the families meet their goals to stabilize from whatever started the crisis. And our resource friends are those who are willing to make donations of like tangible goods and services. We've had, gas cards were donated last spring when the gas prices were crazy. It could be a grocery gift card or even making a meal for a host family, something like that. So we like to say there's something for everyone. Everybody can do something. And then really what's been neat about this is that Safe Families for Children has been around for 20 years, actually. So we started in Chicago, and out of this sort of immediate need that was seen with the founder of the organization, a mom coming to him and saying like, I need help. And he said, well, do you have a case manager? He worked at a foster care agency in a group home in Chicago. And he said, well, do you have your case manager? Like, who on staff are you trying to get in touch with? And she said, no, I don't have a case manager. I'm not working with anybody. Like I'm trying to, I really need some help because I feel like, my family is suffering. And as the words were coming out of his mouth, he realized how crazy it was. But he said, ma'am, I'm sorry, but until something bad happens, I can't help you. And she said, you don't understand. If you don't help me, something bad is going to happen. And so that's where Safe Families started. That's how we got going. So like I said, we've been doing this for about 20 years, using this circle of relationships. But what's been really neat since I've been on staff has been to see some different studies that have come out. There was even one last fall. I think I have a quote. Yes. And so this was from an article referencing the study that was done. But it's the difference. It was a study around how the difference in the number of relationships that folks who were isolated socially, had low social capital, typically low income, that the more cross-economic relationships that they had, the more successful long-term they were, more stable, and the ability to sort of break that poverty cycle. Their chances of breaking that cycle went up. So I think I love that social science is just affirming, what we know and sort of how we all operate. I don't know if anybody has read Atomic Habits. I haven't read the whole thing yet. I've listened to a couple of podcasts, interviews, but one of the things that he shared that I found was fascinating. So he's talking about, how do you become people of good habits and sort of changing your habits, right? And sort of becoming more consistent with the things that we want to do in our lives. And one of the key elements of that is that the more that we're around people, who are already doing what we want to be doing differently in our lives, the more likely we are to then actually make that change long-term. And that's just common sense, right? I mean, you think about like accountability goals, it's like, I want to read more, I want to exercise more, whatever it might be. And the more time you spend with people who are already doing those things, the more likely you are to have that sustained change in your life. So, the easy example, of course, is thinking about like the doctor, right? The doctor might tell us that we need to exercise more, we need to eat less red meat, and, God forbid we, maybe have to drink less beer, which is awful, but we're not going to listen to them, right? That's the professional in our life. We're like, okay, thanks. That's helpful. That's good to know. But that's not really who's going to hold us accountable and who's going to follow, who we want to check in with and follow up with, right? It's the friend who says, hey, every Monday morning, 9 a.m., we're going for a walk, right? Or, hey, on Sundays, we're eating green, we're eating our veggies, whatever it might be. And so that's the sort of, that's the gap, I think, that we really get to fill with existing social services in all of our communities. So where do we serve? We are doing this all across the state. We have chapters in the Panhandle, focused in Tallahassee, but sort of emanating out from there. They cover several counties. We have a chapter in St. John's. Our co-directors are there, so kind of covering that Northeast territory of Florida. We have a very strong Tampa chapter. We've got us here on the Treasure Coast and in Brevard County. So we actually cover both the Space Coast and the Treasure Coast with my team. And then we're also located in Miami-Dade. And the more opportunity that we have to increase funding, the more opportunity we have to cover the rest of the state. We do operate very lean. We are small teams. We like to say that we are professionally supported, but volunteer driven. And so you're not going to see us growing staff as, agency case managers and, things like that. We have a director, a family coach supervisor to help with the families and the intake side of things. And we have an engagement coordinator, who's recruiting volunteers and training and vetting the volunteers. We might end up, with a part-time staff here there to help with intake, or, like in my chapter, we're co-directing and still doing our roles. So it can look a little bit different depending on funding available to the chapters, but that's pretty much it. So like I shared, for our team, we have 2 full-time staff and 1 part-time staff, and we are covering the 5 counties of the Treasure Coast and Brevard County. But like I shared, the more funding we have, then we are able to start chapters in other places. And so that's where this tax credit comes in. The idea, of course, is that for the state, why would they establish this tax credit program? So it was established in 2021. It was actually established by, so this is a nonprofit who started off as Safe Families for Children. And then wanted to add some of their own components. So they actually broke off from our National Alliance team, but kept our Circle of Support model and then added some other components as well. So that's the original nonprofit who qualified for this tax credit. And then since then we've been added, and All Pro Dads has been added as well. But really then the vision from the state side is that we want to support a nonprofit to do what the state really can't do, right? And then to help decrease the need for state funding for foster care and things like that. So we are much more flexible. Obviously we operate in a more lean fiscal structure. And so we are able to kind of, we meet families where they are. We're able to get a lot more done through volunteers and through community connections than often the state is able to do, because they have such stringent rules that they have to follow. And they're just simply overwhelmed. We're grateful for our DCF connections. We do take referrals from DCF when they don't want to remove. We've been told several times, we're so glad you're here. We're so glad that you're able to, do this. We don't want to remove. We really think this family could be okay. They just need some extra help. So we are able to do that. So then we are that prevention piece as well. So the tax credit then also lets, there are several different taxes that qualify. I know what y'all are interested in is the excise tax. And like I shared, why would they do this? It's the prevention intervention model. Certainly it saves trauma. There's less trauma in the lives of the kids when they're removed. And then it's also less money to the taxpayers. So in the long run, we are stabilizing families, right? And helping them to become more productive citizens and strong families. And then we're also, saving the state the intervention when it comes to foster care. These are just some general statistics. We've kind of taken an average of state costs for foster care, but our best understanding is that it's $21,000 just for a 6-month foster placement. And then the average cost of a Safe Families hosting is only $1,500. So far in our chapter locally, we've already served, so this was just since July, we have already served over 110 families and over 200 children. And then you just, multiply that out through our other chapters as well. So we are grateful for the opportunity. I'm grateful to have been approved. And what I understand is that it's a pretty simple online application process. They do want you to do it online as you're able. These are the materials that you need. All this information is on the Florida Department of Revenue's website. So I've pulled directly from there. But our understanding is that you fill out the application, you select Safe Families for Children as your charity, of course, if you want to support us, you would select Safe Families for Children as your charity. But then we want you to notify your local chapter. And so I do have that contact information coming up as well. You would notify the local chapter once you've been approved. Our state services team will also get notified once you're approved. And then when you're ready and as you're able, you would write the check to your local chapter. I believe the excise tax is allowed to be up to 90% of the credit. Yes. So the amount of credit taken may not exceed 90% of the tax due. So up to 90% of that tax. So you would write the check to your local chapter, and then we submit that through our national office to be processed. We get you your certificate, and then you turn that in with your tax bill to the state. The application for this fiscal year is already open for 2023-24 is already open. It opened on January 1st. It is a first come, first served basis and on the allocation of credits. And so please go ahead and get your applications in. Just go ahead and get it done. I know it's busy. I know legislative session is open and people are working on appropriations. So delegate it if you have to, but get it to your bookkeeper, get it to your people, and go ahead and fill out that application so that you can be approved for the credit as soon as possible. And then we'll work with you directly, whatever kind of social media or any sort of recognition that you would like, we're happy to work with you on that. I've actually heard from one of my local breweries, they prefer not to have their name on things that are having to do with children and families. And so I totally respect that as well. But like I said, we're happy to work with you on whatever you'd like for local recognition to say that, hey, we are supporting, local, our money's staying local. We're supporting this nonprofit that's really helping families and gets to stay here in our own backyard. And right, it's what's better if you've got to spend the money anyway. So this is not a new donation, that we're asking for more. It's money that you would write to the state anyway. And so now you have the chance to keep it in your own backyard. So that's my ask for you today, is that you would fill out the application, that you would contact your local chapter or contact me. And the other big ask that I have for y'all today is that, I know that as local breweries, that there's only so much, that you're paying in excise tax. I know the distributors are the ones who are paying most of that tax. So I would really appreciate it if you would be willing to connect me to your contact at your distributor so that I can give them the same presentation and give them the same chance as well. So there's my information. Please, if you have any questions, I'm kind of running, I am the local co-director for this chapter, but I am also, this is the state project that I'm supporting our state services team. So you are welcome to contact me with any questions, even if you aren't in Brevard or in the Treasure Coast. But then you're also, here is the list of information for our other chapters as well. So you can, talk to them, kind of find out where they're serving, what are their local numbers, whatever you might be interested in as well. But that is it for me. Thank you so much, Sean. I will send you that as a PDF as well. So if you want to send that out to the team, but thank you all so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, I know there's only a couple of us on the call, but please let me know.
Yeah,
I actually do have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So what is the timeline look? I did step away for 2 seconds, and I'm sorry if you did say this, but what does the timeline look like? So if we're applying for the 23-24 period and we pay our excise tax monthly, at what point am I writing a check, and then at what point am I submitting the form
That's a great question. So the first thing is you've got to get the application in and you have to get approved. So once you get approved for the allocation of credit, then it's kind of up to you, that you can't claim the credit until, July 1. But if, May and June, you wanted to go ahead and write that excise tax check, if you guys can kind of estimate, and it's pretty similar, and you wanted to go ahead and write that check, we could go ahead and take that and process it so that as soon as your tax bill is due, you've got that certificate of payment from us, and then you just submit it with your tax bill. And then, it's really whatever. And so this is where I'm a little bit out of my depth. I don't know if it's the same for everybody, or I don't know if y'all pay your excise tax at different times of the month. But we just want, however much lead time, 2 to 3 weeks before that, you have to submit that to the state so that we can get that process, get you your certificate. And then when your tax bill's due, you've got all that paperwork ready to go.
This is Anna. I just have a quick question. I don't know how it is for everybody, but I feel like it's due on the 10th of every month. So we don't, and we can't really submit anything until the end of the month, and we know how much we've made and sold.
Oh, great.
So
Okay.
how would that work if there's a lag time?
Well, so when do you get your bill on the 10th for the previous month?
Yeah. Well, we have to figure out our bill. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So you have until, so when do you owe the state? On the 10th or
On the
that?
10th, or before. It has to be postmarked by the 10th.
Postmarked by the 10th. Okay. So, you know,
So is it something like we could pay we could pay this month, like say it's March, we're paying we're paying February's on March 2nd, but then get January's through you? Or how does that, like, are we able to do something retroactively through you, or does it have to, you have to pay the state in our name? Does that make
no.
sense?
Well, so a couple things. So one, just to clarify, I know you might be using it as an example, but you can't start claiming this until July 1.
Oh, got it.
So,
Okay.
so actually, so July then might be a good test. So your June. All right. So we close out June, you close it out by the 2nd or 3rd, right? So you would know how much excise tax you owe for June by July 2nd or 3rd.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, right. So then you could cut us the check on the 2nd or 3rd. We submit that and process that, give you your certificate that we have received that check so that you can turn that certificate in when your bill is due on the 10th. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, it would have to be a quick turnaround for you guys. Do you do this through mail or email, or how do we do this?
You would, for checks, it really is best to, I mean, that's a great question because we all do have online portals that you could donate to, and that process is much faster.
Yeah.
So that's a great, let me ask that question, and Sean, I'll include that in my email to you when I send the PDF. You know, would online payment be better? But if you wrote a check, if you send it to your local chapter office, right, then we see it. I say, oh, okay, I know this check is coming. I can go ahead and write you that receipt and then just give it to you before the check is actually cashed at our national office.
Okay. So just to make sure that I have this correct, like, say our tax bill is like $1,000. We would write you a check for 90% of that, like 900, and then we still owe the state the extra 10.
Yep, that's the way I understand it.
That's amazing.
Right?
This is so close to my heart too. Both my children are adopted. I love the fact that you're taking care of people. So,
and I'm the same. All 3 of my children are adopted. So.
Oh,
wow.
Oh,
thank you, ladies. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
I knew I liked
So
you guys.
yeah, and I love the idea of this, and unfortunately, you know, the volume that we're at, our numbers are not even in the realm of $1,000 a month yet. But we've had some high ones, but not quite there yet. But I'm worried about like the extra steps with the timing of the 10th being the date, and the state is very rigid on that, and then the time it's going to take for us to get that certificate of completion. Because I like the idea, I pay through the portal, boom, I have a record of it. Is there any way, like as this process evolves, to maybe even make that certificate of completion generated automatically, and then it's emailed to us, and then I can go ahead and do my excise tax that day if I wanted?
That is a great question. I would have to talk to our IT manager about that and kind of how we we use Salesforce for our donor management. And so just kind of, I know that when you donate online, we do get automated thank yous and sort of a like receipt of payment. And so I could talk to them and see what might be possible if there's a way to be able to tell the difference. You know what I mean? Because I think that would just be a system question on our end. How do they know that it's an excise tax payment versus like that you would need a tax credit receipt versus like a standard receipt.
Right.
But I know in the meantime, at least as far as a local office, if I see that the check has come into my office, I can just go, I have a template, already created. I've created the template for our other chapters. We drop in the brewery name, we drop in the total amount, print that out on letterhead and send that back to you as a PDF in your email,
Okay. And then are you able to, I know I work with Deborah Reed through Jacksonville. I don't know if this is statewide or just us. I'm not sure. But would you be able to contact her? Because I, as the one who always sends in the excise checks, I know they are very strict about all the things. And
okay.
I can put you in touch with her to be like, this is happening and a few breweries are going to do it, because I'm positive I'll get some pushback. And what they've said is like 3 strikes and you're out. If you don't do things by the 10th, by this way, like your license is gone. And I don't know how stringent they are, but I'm not willing to like,
oh, totally.
my
No,
license revoked.
Yeah, of course. No, that's great feedback. Thank you for letting us know that. That name's not familiar. I don't know who our contact is in the Florida Department of Revenue,
Okay.
but I'd be happy to have that conversation, make sure that we have everything crossed and dotted.
Okay.
Any more questions? No. And so Anna and Johnny, while I have you, just a reminder that if you have any stories you want to share about that would be relevant to our legislative upcoming stuff in the coming weeks,
Oh,
we'd love to hear them.
sure.
If you've not seen the emails and stuff that we've sent out, I can certainly forward those on to you.
Yeah, that would be great.
Anna, what is your? Oh wait, no, actually, I just saw your email because you re-signed up for the forums. So
Yeah, and I'm logged in through, I think, my husband's brewer's password.
well, I just saw you sign up with one
Yeah.
with your email, so I'll send it to that.
Yeah.
If that works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we'd love to have anything that we can use during our push for legislative stuff in the coming months. Either just quotes or short videos or things like that. Those are all really helpful for us.
Okay.
And Sean, actually, if as part of the cleanup, getting it away from the 10th and more the end of the month like everything else, this is a good feel good for the legislators to say, hey, if we give them the whole month to pay, they can do this excise tax thing and they can, donate to all these things that are helping the citizens of our state.
Love it. Excellent strategic thinking.
Yep. Gotta be creative, gotta make them feel good about what they're doing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all so much for your time. Again, Sean, thank you for getting this together. Ladies, thanks for showing up today. I really appreciate it. I'm excited. I love what y'all do. We're big fans of our local breweries. My husband's a home brewer. Mike Malone taught him what he's doing. And so I just really appreciate just your craft and being dedicated and being excellent in what you do. And then being willing to maybe give some of that back to the community. So thank you so much.
For sure.
No problem.
Thank you. Thanks for taking the time and putting this together for us. So, and if you want to send me that deck, I'll post it along, and I'm going to put this video up on our YouTube channel as well, and then put links to it so people can see it.
Okay, awesome. And I will find out about those payments and the receipts. And Sean, I'll get that to you so that you can get that out to others.
Cool.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.